Okwoma bia mesieda ewu. Okwoma bia mesieda o ewuma. Ohame yokwo si. Ologoma yokwo si o by why dami ho. Where you walk by you tata. Uri you walk by ye gele gele. Utata no revient giso. Revient giso erio giamie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Sydney for the Sydney Table Talk Show, the XTTS. Yes, we are back to the Benin Royal Rumble, the fight between the Ogiame of Utanta Igo de Migo de Benin and the Oba of Uselu, Benin. Before I start my discussion this evening, because I'm going to be replying Mr. Imasuen Izodemi or Izoduwu, I would like to show to you what this young man is, the expectations of this young man with due regards to Benin City. Now, I want you to watch this video. This is how Imasuen wants Benin City.
Footage of alleged destruction of structures in Uleko, a fast-developing locality in Upper Sakumba, Benin Abraka bypass axis of Benin City. At the end of the demolitions, with presence of the Secretary of the Benin Traditional Council, Frank Imabo, and some palace chiefs, over 60 houses at various stages of development, with some ready to be moved into next week, were destroyed. Odionwe of Uleko, Paigareba, displayed copies of legal documents of High Court, Appeal Court, Supreme Court, previous judgments of Palace of the Benin monarch in favor of Uleko, said they have never seen where buildings are destroyed in Benin.
Now, you have just seen one of those actions of the Oba's Palace, these are actions that actually are illegal in the country. And if the executive governor of Edo State, Inoyase Obaseki, was not a gentleman, the Oba should have been prosecuted. And the final place for him will be the prison yard. But fortunately for him, Godwin Obaseki is a fine gentleman. This is the Benin of Mr. Imasuen Izoduwu. I haven't shown that. I will move to another video. Now, you are going to see another video. You are going to see another video from the same dreams of Imasuen Izoduwu of how Benin should look like. But we are saying that Benin cannot look like that. That Benin is a modern society and the people are modern people. Therefore, the rule of law must take its course. Now I'm going to show you on the video where some idiots were placing calls on who votes for the candidates of Godwin Obaseki in the last House of Assembly elections. I hope I still have this video here with me because I would like to show it, the people see. I hope I still have it with me. It is necessary and is important that we continue to remind the people we are not in the bush. Benin City is a corporate entity in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the only way we can live in that society is to respect the rules and regulations. I just hope I can see this video where they were placing calls on their fathers, Okay. Please. What you are seeing here is that these people are protesting that Obaseki destroyed houses in their village. Therefore, the representative of the Oba of Benin, They came out to the street with their shrine and started placing calls on those who would vote for the candidate of Obaseki during the last House of Assembly election. But as you all know, Obaseki still prevailed. Okay? There is nothing they can do. The law is the law. And Obaseki will continue to implement the law of the state. Like I said the other time, the issue of the 1979 chieftaincy law, as a matter of fact, that law was not the intentions to create local government traditional councils was not born in 1979. It was in the 1968 chieftaincy laws that very particular article was enshrined in the chieftaincy law. And if you look at that chieftaincy law very well, you will see a particular paragraph where it was clearly stated that the sole administrator, it was within the authority of the sole administrator to create traditional councils for the local government councils. So when we say local government administrators, that takes you back to 1968, because by 1979, when Heredia tries to manipulate this chieftaincy law, Professor Ambrose Ali was then the president, the governor of the state. He wasn't a sole administrator. He was the first executive governor of Edo State, meaning that he was the first governor that the people voted for. The late Dr. S.O. Bemudia was the military administrator from the 60s till 1975, when their government was overthrown. Now I've made a clearance on that. Now let me swiftly reply to Mr. Izoduwa. Izoduwa said that at a given point in time, Oba Ogwola invited his people from Uselu because he wasn't in charge of Edo South, the entire Edo South. That must be laid to rest. He was not in charge. He invited his people and told them that Benin was expanding and expanding and expanding, and that there was need to build a defense line in the case of foreign invasion. But look at the strangest part of this story. They dug the moats. Listen very carefully. They dug the moats just by 3rd East Circular. That moat was cutting 3rd East Circular straight to Ikpoba River, then hitting the GROA by Boundary Road, okay, passing through those territories and going to hit the airport road behind the Oba's Palace, then Iyaro. One would ask a question: if Benin was expanding and expanding and expanding, are you telling me that the expansion of Benin was from 3rd East Circular to the Oba's Palace? The answer is no. No Oba dug the Benin moat. The Benin moat is a consequence of natural occurrences. For those of us who grew up in Benin, we can well explain better. The moat used to run behind Edo College. It was connected to the Ikpoba River, which passes through Bata. We call it Bata River. And in that very particular territory, we had what we call another swamp, very big swamp. We used to call Ezaka. Ezaka now is dried up. The whole water coming all the way from Ezovia, which runs through, because the Ovia River runs through Ekiadolo, Okoro, and then straight to Ikpoba. In the ancient days, when there's excessive downpour, this water created these valleys, so they could empty this water, all the rains, right from Ikpoba, right from Ohoro. They will be all flown straight to the Ogba River. See, that moat connected the Ogba River as well. It was a natural occurrence, telling people that Oba Ogwola dug a moat. I wonder what instrument they use in the digging of the moat. I would like Mr. Izodua to answer this question. Please, Mr. Izodua, tell us the instruments that were used for the digging of the moat. It's important because When you are talking and you are talking and you are talking, you think you are talking to fools. You are not talking to fools. You are talking to people who are well brought up, people who have that education, that balanced education, not just that academic education. You see, what Obaseki has that you don't have is that Obaseki has what we call a balanced education. You don't have a balanced education, you just have an academic education. You went to school to read 1 plus 1 equals to 2. And unfortunately, in your case, you do not even know the meaning of the answer to 1 plus 1. Because if you know, you wouldn't be saying a lot of things you are saying. You say too much craps, man. All right? Now, you said, the Ogiamians are threatening. I wonder where you got this information from. The Ogiamians do not threaten nobody, and they will not threaten, because what the Ogiamien relies upon is a document. The Ogiamians, they rely on a document. They will not threaten anybody to get what they want. In fact, the Ogiamien did not threaten the state government. The state government went and looked at the papers and discovered that what the Ogiamien was saying was upright. Therefore, what is due to the Ogiamien must be given to the Ogiamien. What is due to the Oba of Uselu should be given to the Oba of Uselu. There's one thing that I liked in your discussions. You understood it very well, that once the traditional councils are created, the monopoly that the Oba of Benin has been perpetuating is gone forever. No more sending his brother or his in-law to go and be a duke in any way. It will no longer happen, because we are going to be ready for him. We are going to resist him. I'm not just talking about the Ogiamien, the indigenous people. We are going to resist him in the 7 local government areas. And let me put this to you straight. Some of those dukes that some of them, we will remove them. We will remove them. The law court is there. Because when you want to appoint a duke, it is the state government who would appoint a traditional ruler. After appointing the traditional ruler, the state government will present him a staff of office. It is not the Oba of Benin. The Oba of Benin has been acting illegally. And because he is the benefactor of the colonial time, is the benefactor of colonialism. But today he's the one who is crying that the colonial people, they have balkanized and they have done this, they have done that. But if there's anybody who benefited from colonialism, it is the Oba of Benin. I was just reading a story, from the United Kingdom. There is this family from the UK. Their forefathers were involved in slave trade. They were not apologizing for the nonsense that their parents, their grandparents did in the past. I remember the Osetutu of Ghana, when some black Americans paid him a courtesy call in his palace in Ghana. He told them, he apologized to them about the slave trade. He accepted the shortcomings of his forefathers who participated heavily in slave trade. But the Oba of Benin has refused, because in Edo South, the Oba of Benin was the only king who sold his people into slavery. He sold his people into slavery for silver spoons, silver forks, breakable plates, mirrors, beads, copper to make bronze. Today, he's talking about bronze. I've done this, the bronze that, the bronze this. He sold human beings for copper. He sold human beings for copper. The Oba of Benin did not introduce blacksmithing, which is one of the prerequisites for bronze casting. He did not introduce it. Ogiso Evia was a blacksmith, and he was a hunter and a farmer. And how did he defeat the monster? he threw a rod into fire. And when the monster came up, usually, he threw the rod into the mouth of the monster. And the monster disappeared, never to show up again. That was how Ogiso Evian became the Ogiso. Don't call Ogiso Evian president. There was no president. Ogiso Evian succeeded his brother Ogiso Owodo. And because he was old, I'm going to reiterate this very particular part again. Because Ogiso was old, Ogiso Evian abdicated the throne for his son, Erebo, who would later become the first Ogiame of Igodomigodo, Ogiso Ogiame of Igodomigodo. All right? Now, if we go back to all your dirty arguments, it's unfortunate that you do not realize that we are in a republic. The way you talk as if we are still living in the bush. We are not living in the bush. You know, when I was growing up in the 70s in Benin City, Benin was called a city, but Benin was a jungle. The most developed part of Benin City was the Ogiame's quarter, properly. Those who are famous or those who grew up in Benin in the 60s, in the 50s, and in the 70s can attest to this. The Ogiame's territory was the most developed part of Benin City, and that was why Dr. S.A. Obomudia made Ogiame the competent chieftaincy stool for Benin City Council. Mr. Ezodowa, for your information, the Ogiameans were well grounded in the 60s. As soon as colonialism ended, the Ogiameans were the pioneers of local administration in Edo South. And Ogiame was the first indigenous local government chairman for Benin City Council. And Ogiame was the first local government chairman for Orion Council. At that time, we had no chairman. What we normally had was secretaries. So the Ogiame was the secretary, you know. But unfortunately, our people, the Ogiameans, never saw the desperation of the Oba's family or the Oba himself. These people were mysteriously murdered. A lot of them were poisoned because it is impossible that the Ogiameans who were in charge of the local administration in the 60s, they will all died in the early 70s. They were poisoned. I have two examples of what happened when I was already grown up. My uncle, the late Stagali, Julius Stagali, Imokwa Ogiame, became the chairman of Saple Garage at the Dunyoto. Eridiawa, Godwin Edosa, Bobizwa, and co. My uncle was poisoned, and my uncle died mysteriously. We had to bury him. He was just 37 years old. I didn't know then what was happening, but now, doing my researches, I'm beginning to find out that these people were so desperate that our people never saw this desperation. The fact that Akenzwa was paying homage to the Ogiame never knew that these people were so desperate that they were secretly eliminating our people. Having eliminated our people from the local administration, what they now did was to place their men in the various corridors of power. And they began to get rid of our people who were still in government. My auntie was made Madam UPN in 1984. After being made Madam UPN, a radio was sent to Godwin Edosa and his gang. They kidnapped my auntie. She was very lucky, probably because of her connections. She was left alive. They took her brand new 305 that she bought, and she was threatening to leave Benin or else they will murder her. My auntie has to run to Abuja. Of course, my auntie never knew that these were the operations of Erediawa, but I am saying it here. These were all the operations of Erediawa. Now come to Sarabo, Kunoga, Ogiame of Utansa. Isekure. Eduwe Fuekato, Bobizwa, They are responsible for the disappearance of Osarabo Punara. They killed him because I met Osarabo briefly before the last time, before he disappeared. He told me he had some business problem with Bobizwa and Edu Fuekato. And he equally mentioned the name of his Igwe. But now when I put 1 + 1 is equal to 2, it is now clear to me that the manipulator, the organizer of all these killings, poisonings, disappearance, were all Iridiawa. You are making noise. But you see, we, the Ogiso, the Evian Ogiso, the Ame royal dynasty, we are not going to allow you or anybody to play with us and go scot-free. We are not going to fight you diabolically. We are not going to fight you physically. We have one instrument. At least we have two. One, we have a document that says that the Ogiamie is a traditional ruler. Two, the Cubana Treaty. You people can't run from a Cubana Treaty. You are running for now. We will bring you back to a Cubana Treaty. Because if you use your senses and if you are intelligent enough, you should understand that we are bringing you back to a Cubana Treaty. The High Court in Benin told them before they went to the Court of Appeal that we, the Ogiamies, will have all the authorities to ask the Oba of Benin why he was not reenacting the Cubana Treaty. The Oba of Benin could only have undo the Cubana Treaty before 1897, when he said he had a kingdom, because before 1897 he had a kingdom. That was the kingdom of Uselu. But if he says he was totally in control of Edo South, then a Cubana Treaty would have ceased to exist before 1897. But look at it. We have evidences. Unfortunately for him, Erediawa would come to the Treaty of Cubana in 1979 and pay homage to the Ogiamie. With that alone, when we present that in the law court, they will come back to the Cubana Treaty. You can't be talking about the Ogisos without the Cubana Treaty. The Cubana Treaty is the basis upon which the Oba of Benin, Oba of Uselu, I prefer calling him Oba of Uselu, became a king in a given territory. And that was thanks to the Ogiamie of Utanta. So if the Oba of Benin wants to have peace in his life, the Oba of Benin must come to Cubana. If he refuses to come to Cubana, look at him now. Look at what he's facing. He has 5 children. They can neither talk nor hear. But I'm going to ask that if you're not able to ulao, a money, ulao, uyarayano, urayaho, nda, kologoma ne ewa yubo esi, unwoke ya mwe, enwi biekane, ogun ewa. Biekane, they are not part of the problem. Now, I pray that the Almighty God will give those children the power, free them from the wickedness of their father, Ewai Robinson Erediawa, who now calls himself Ewai II. Okay? Now, having said that, now, you said the BTC, you will raise money to run the BTC. I don't really understand what you mean you will raise money to run the BTC. I want to send this is a clear warning to those of you who have been following this man, this blind idiot. The Benin Traditional Council by law does not exist. It was just a manipulation, an invention of Iridiawa. Ewa should thank the governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, for not throwing the BTC into the trash bin. Everyone should thank Godunode Obaseki. Obaseki is a complete gentleman, humble. I respect you, my governor. I respect you. And may our ancestors and the Almighty God continues to guide you. There is nothing they will do. There is nothing at all. You are too strong for them. You are too strong. Now, the big invest of Izoduwa, my brothers and sisters, those of you, Izoduwa is nothing but a fraud. Izoduwa is a fraud. Izoduwa is telling you people that he is going to get an app and that you people should submit your bank details so that every day you'll be paying 50 naira. That guy is a fraud. He's a very smart criminal, but of course, he's a small criminal. Don't give your bank details to that man. That man will fraud you people. He will end up frauding you. And you know one thing? Once you people have been frauded, Robinson Ewari will tell you people that he did not send him. Don't give your bank details to this stupid egg-headed human being. Okay? You should remember that we live in a republic. What has been happening in Edo South? The state government gives allocation to Benin Traditional Council with the hope that this money will be disbursed to the various traditional rulers in Edo South. But what has been happening? The Oba of Benin pockets all the money when he feels like you 10,000 naira, you 25,000, you 5,000, and you nothing. This is how this man has been managing these people. But what he forgets is that Obaseki has the authority. Obaseki can request. Obaseki can request for accountability of the Benin Traditional Council. But Obaseki is not doing this. That is what the law says. Obaseki can request for the accountability of how this money they are being expended. But Obaseki has never asked for that. So look, AY, cool down, you know, because if you make too much noise, you will run yourself into trouble. You will run yourself into trouble. Still, we will still go back, and look at the day, you know, the connection. Who is Oramiya? Oramiya, in Benin language, is known as Abionona of Oduduwa. Abionona of Oduduwa, meaning that in English, Abionona means great. Are you seeing this? Great son. Great grandson of Oduduwa. So there is no way Oduduwa would have given Oramiya to anybody because they did not live at the same time. The generation question does not arise at all. Oramiya would have heard about Oduduwa. Oramiya never saw Oduduwa. Oramiya never saw Oduduwa. And when we still go back to Ife, we are not going to find any imprint of Benin cultural heritage that Oduduwa or a Kalarera turned Oduduwa imported to Ife. Rather, the reverse is the case. If you come to Benin, you see Ogun, Shango, Orumila, all this stuff. They all came with Oramiya. But what did Oduduwa that they are saying was from Igodo was the Prince Kalera? What did he now live in Ife as a mark to show that he came from Benin? There is nothing, not even the dress code, not even the kitchen, not even the farming, not even in hunting, not even in the cultural heritage. Rather, what we have today in Benin, we only see what Oramiya brought from Ife to Benin. All right? The Ugiamien has been there and will always be there. There is nothing you can do about it. There is nothing you can do about it. It's the one. And those of you who are saying that people should come out and protest. Protest for who? Protest for who? For Ewari. You're playing, man. You're a motherfucker. You don't know what you're saying. Protest for who? For a man who does not even have respect for the cultural or the customary laws of the land. The man has so messed up the whole tradition that today, Benin, our cultural heritages, people are now laughing at us. Sleeping with his sisters, just like his father. His father slept with more than 20 princes from their family. He is doing a similar thing. Using the excuse of Agwoba Takme, Agwoba Simi, Betu. But let me ask you people one question. Betu. But somebody cut off Ozoloa's head. Are you telling me that Ogyonzoloa de Mari Betu, no Fionzoloa Huma Betu? Or one Fionzoloa Humu? Agwoba Takme, Ewakbe the Great, I don't know what is great in him or what was great in him. He went to a very small village. The king of that village drove him away, and they said he was Ewakbe the Great. I don't know what makes him great. Agwoba Moame. Agwoba Takme. Oba Ohen was stoned to death by his people when he killed his own Iyasere. Not the Iyasere of... his own Iyasere, that language. His own Iyasere. He killed his Iyasere. And his people in Ogbe stoned him to death. Agwoba Takme. Agwoba Moame. Oba Nenemi. Oba this. Oba that. You know. Come on, my brothers and sisters. You guys should try and live in the light, not darkness. You see, some people want to live in the dark when the sun is shining so bright. Some people are scanting for water when the rivers are flowing behind. Don't you think that something is really wrong? Don't you think this is all about distraction? The African people for evolution. The African people for science. You see, we cannot live in the dark. We cannot live in the dark. And there is no history as far as Benin is concerned. We call it now Benin, Igo Domigo. There was never a time that nobody questioned the authority of the Oba of Benin. All the Obas who came to rule Uselu, they were all questioned. They were all questioned. I just named a few. See, I named a few. Ohen was stoned to death. Ewakbe the Great was driven from his mother's village. Ovorame was taken from Benin and taken to Calabar, and they messed him up. Ewari the first, he died miserably. Ewega the second died with mental problem. They only assassinated him so that they will not be disgraced, you know. You people should stop telling us these funny stories about Dog the Moats. These people are so funny that the kind of information they want to sell to people, they don't even look at the stories very well. He said Arwan the giant would just uproot a palm tree and begin to sweep with it. The question that people are not asking them how tall was Arwan the giant? The palm tree, as we all know, we're talking about the organic, the natural vegetation palm tree that I grew up to meet in Benin. We still have them in some villages. They have a minimum of 10 meters. Not the agricultural palm trees you are seeing. Our palm trees, before the white man came with their genetically modified palm trees that we are now having that is causing health problems to our people. Our palm trees does not have cholesterol. They were an average of 10 meters tall. So if Aaron the giant was pulling the palm tree and sweeping with it, the question that we should ask these people is, how tall was Aaron the giant? It's important to ask, how tall was Aaron the giant for him to sweep with a 10 meters tall palm tree? You know, they sell information. At times I just sit down. When I think about these people, I get sick because I don't know how they come about all these frivolous stories. You know, they don't even evaluate them before they sell them to the public. Look at the story of Ikoyi in Lagos. One of the chiefs in Oba's palace said that Ikoyi is a place where is a camp of criminals. You know, because in Benin you say Ikoyi, meaning the meeting of criminals, not a camp. The meeting, the meetings of criminals. But what this chief fails to realize was that Ikoyi is a synonymous name in Yoruba land. We have Ikoyi in virtually all the western states in Nigeria. We have in Lagos, we have in Ogun, we have in Ondo, we have in Osun, and we have in Ekiti. So, if the Ikoyi in Lagos was founded by the Oba of Benin, just because criminals were gathering there, it means that the Oba of Benin founded every other Ikoyi in other parts of Lagos. Yoruba say Oloshi. They are Oloshi. These Oba people, Oloshi. Ikoyi is just like Ajebandele. You find Ajebandele in virtually all the southwestern state. The same thing with Ajegunle. Ajegunle, you find it in all the states of western Nigeria. There is, they keep selling. There's another one they sold again. They say that Dahomey was founded by the Oba of Benin. He sent one of his warriors, Idahome. No. These people, they can blow your head. They can blow your head. But anyway, before I close this discussion, I want to once again talk about the Ekiopa Treaty because it is important. Ekiopa Treaty, it's only in Ekiopa Treaty that whatever stories that the Oba is saying, that the Ugiami is saying, when you perform the Ekiopa Treaty, what you see in the treaty tells you who is the Oba of Benin and who is the Ugiami. Izoduwa, in one of his blogs, he said the Oba Ewedo beat the Ugiami and he said he drew the Ugiami. The Ugiami had to walk on his nails from Unueru to Ekiopa. That's about 500 or 600 meters distance. And then Ekiopa Treaty was enacted. So if he is correct, and so important, because since you defeated a man, you forced him to a treaty, according to Zodua. But why are they now running from the treaty? The Ogiamians are insisting that they must come to the treaty, and they are running from the treaty. Why are they running? Why are they running? You see, why are they running? They are running from the treaty because when you see the Treaty of Ekiopa, the story of Ekaladera, Oduduwa, become what? Things fall apart. When in the modern days, they really understood that with modern days, that if they ever perform that treaty again, whatever stories they tell the Benin people, the Benins will tell them to shut up their mouth. Because the Oba of Benin is submissive to the Ogiamia in the Ekiopa Treaty. That is why they are running from the treaty. But I wonder that a man that you have defeated, a man that you have defeated, that you are forced to enact a treaty, would have an advantage over you in such a treaty, is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You see, they are only trying to placate Godwin Obaseki, but they aren't going to succeed. They aren't going to succeed. The coming governor will improve the traditional institutions administration in the state. Obaseki has just cleared the flow. We will move to another stage. Because since 1968, in other states of the Federation, traditional rulers who were not up to the category of the Ogiami, today they are first-class traditional rulers. Government, just think of it. Think of it. The Oba has 92 dukes. But how many dukes was the Oba having before 1897? Zero. He had no duke before 1897. What existed in Edo South, I'm going to repeat again, we had kings. The kings were in categories and seniorities because they knew themselves. He wasn't the only Oba in Edo South. We had Oba Ugu. Ugu, that's the place that you call Yekorion. Part of Yekorion is known as Ugu land. Oba Nikwen. We have Oba Nesi. And he was the Oba of Uselu. But when Erediawa came in 1979, he understood that when these people continues to bear this title, that was going to be a problem for him and his future generations. He now forced these people, using the state instrument, forcing these people to become Enogie. They were not Enegies. Obanugu is not Enegie. Obanugu is not Enegie. He's the Ogumogun. Ogumogun, that is his actual title. But because he comes from the Oramias dynasty, he calls himself Obanugu. So he was a grandson to Eweka the First. All right? Ogugoneki was not Enogie. Ugoneki. We had Ugo. All right? So, the Oba of Benin had no duke before 1897. In fact, the invasion is a testimony to that. He had nobody. He was just making noise, calling himself Ovoram Enogbaisi. Ovoram Enogbaisi just because he was trading with the white man. So, in order to, he was suffering from inferiority complex. He wanted his people to see him as a supreme being because he was trading with the white man. That was why he called himself Ovoram Enogbaisi. He didn't baisi nothing. In fact, when the invasion came, Ovoram Enogbaisi did not baisi because in 6 days, this man was crushed. In 6 days, this man today is claiming the whole of Edo South. The same man, Ovoram, who told his chiefs, when they asked him to go into hiding, he told his chiefs, he told his chief that he was born in that palace and will remain there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to waste your time further, but I want to remind you all, keep supporting our Governor Godwin Obaseki. May the Almighty God continue to bless you. May the Almighty God continue to bless you. And let me sing this song for Baseki. Ogie mai mo wigwo rivio, ogie mai mo wigwo rivio, o witan akpe my do, edigwe agbe me o ma, So you see, Your Excellency, the way you are just matching them and the way you are following them, that is the best way. That shows that you are a professional administrator. God will continue to bless you. And those things that are very, very dear to you, that you don't have, God will definitely give them to you. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, this is J.R. Sydney for the Sydney Table Talk Show, the XTTS. Thank you once more.